Wow, what an honor to kick off this amazing conference with all of you. If anyone was there last night, it was really a stellar event. Thank you so much to IPAN, Independent Peaceful Australia Network, for bringing me to Australia. It's amazing to be here and a profound honor to be here with all of you, fighting for a world that we know is possible and we're all fighting for. As I travel around the world with Earth's Greatest Enemy, something that kind of binds our humanity, I think, in the last couple of years is the international solidarity, obviously, with Gaza and Palestinians. So see the iconography, the keffiyehs, it just resonates that we are all family. We are all fighting for the same thing, even though we're living in an extremely dark and dangerous moment. People ask me every day, how do you stay hopeful? And honestly, there are days when it is incredibly difficult because we've been watching genocide for 3 years nearly, 3 years. And every morning you wake up, another journalist hunted with their family, another child starved to death, while our wealthy governments tell us, no, there's nothing we can do. And then we find out, oh no, they just haven't been sitting there on their hands. They've been providing the intelligence through Pine Gap. They've been actually facilitating and subsidizing the genocide. But every morning you wake up, another neighborhood razed, gone. The profound loss of life is so hard to wrap your mind around. How do you wrap your mind around this? 20,000 children. How? Especially when I look in the eyes of my children and the guilt that comes along with that, to know you're safe for now only because we've externalized the barbaric savagery and violence for said safety in our respective countries, subjugating billions of people under our boot, brutalizing millions of people every day in order to rationalize said safety. It's so much trauma to unpack on a daily basis, the assault on our lands, on our environment, on our bodies, the psychic assault. It's an assault on our minds. It's a war on reality. And it does feel like we're watching civilization unravel in real time, and in a way we are. In a way we are, because the mask has fallen, finally. Finally, there's no more pretense about human rights and democracy. We all see it very clearly, what the rules-based order exists to do, who it exists for, and yet every institution that claimed to uphold these values has stood by silently or actively enabled the destruction of an entire people. Gaza changed the world forever. Exposed these contradictions so nakedly, people can no longer look away. And I just want to give you some insight from the belly of the beast, from the Imperial Core, as an American citizen who's been engaged in movement building for 20 plus years, why I'm hopeful in this dangerous and dark moment. Because I came into politics protesting the invasion of Iraq, and I remember marching with millions of people and watching the war happen anyway. But I was told Palestine was too controversial. Palestine was a different issue. Don't include it in the messaging. Then came Occupy Wall Street. Suddenly millions understood capitalism was producing the inequality as designed. But Obama was still off limits. He was still worshipped, even though the 99% became this popular phrase in the millennial lexicon. Obama was still off limits. And I remember protesting the drone war of Obama. A few dozen of us in the streets in DC thinking, how do you not see it? Why don't you care that people are being obliterated thousands of miles away by remote controls? How are you sitting there accepting this? But fast forward to today. Palestine exposed every single lie simultaneously, didn't it? It exposed the rank hypocrisy of neoliberalism. Western governments, the ruling elite, they don't care about international law or human rights. They care about free markets and they care about equality for them. They care about open borders for them. Gaza made the corporate media irrelevant, the Rupert Murdoch media irrelevant. We all watch the barbaric savagery unfold. Corporate media tells us black is white, up is down. It's exposed the lie that colonialism is something confined to history books. But most importantly, it's exposed how interconnected our struggles are. The decades that neoliberals have hand-wringed us, that these things are atomized, isolated, siloed us into our corners. Environmental destruction, militarism, indigenous dispossession, economic exploitation, police repression, they're not separate. They're all expressions of the same system. And that's why I'm extraordinarily hopeful in this moment. Because even though it doesn't always feel hopeful, there's something that's broken. There's something that's ruptured irreparably in the global order. Once the empire functions out in the open, you can't go back to thinking this is normal. It's full of possibility, and in a moment full of possibility, it's so unpredictable. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And one of the most profound things I've witnessed is happening inside my country, because for the first time, millions of Americans identify with people they never met. American exceptionalism, it only exists on the pillar of propaganda that only your lives matter, that you are supreme, that you have the ordained right to dictate other people's futures and sovereignty and undermine that sovereignty. And for the first time, I'm seeing Americans say no. They resonate with Palestinian children. They understand that those children are no different than them. And that's the monumental shift. That's the monumental shift. They've lost the propaganda war, and that's why the repression's so fierce. Here in Europe, here in my home country, you've all watched its students be beaten, expelled, journalists repressed, threatened, peaceful encampments dismantled, governments claiming to defend democracy, instead emboldening an apartheid state that's rogue and nuclear armed. People ask where the movement's gone in America. And they don't see the movement in the streets. They don't see the activism that we saw for the last 2 years. Why? Well, they were protesting relentlessly under a liberal administration, just like Albanese. I mean, Biden bypassed Congress 100 times to sell weapons to Israel. It's not a failure. Of course there's exhaustion. Of course people are exhausted and they're scared, but that's not a failure. That's not a failure. That's not defeat. That's the consequence of confronting an empire that's shown it's changed face. It will ignore public opinion. It'll ignore international law. It'll ignore its own citizens and continue funding mass slaughter. People are just shifting tactics. They're strategizing, just like in this room. We're figuring out what's next. What do we do now? And that's exactly our role now. Why our role is more important than ever before. Why our role as educators, as peace activists, as representatives of this growing peace movement, the connective tissue all around the world, that it's not the moment to retreat, it's the moment to advance. It's the moment to organize with greater clarity than ever before, because we have the tools now that we didn't before. That's why I made Earth's Greatest Enemy, not because I thought a documentary could change the world, even though I think it can, but because movements need political education. They need organizing tools. They need something that helps people connect the dots, that shows why corporate media is spending billions of dollars to obfuscate us from what's right in front of our faces. The truth that you can't ignore anymore. So show it to people who believe that militarism protects them. Show it to people who don't understand how these things are connected, that endless war is inseparable from ecological collapse. And then they'll be left with no choice. Then they'll be left with no choice because the status quo is long dead. You're either in or out. So what are you? You guys are in. We're all in, right? Because Donald Trump's made our work easier. He's made our work easier. And your leader here can't hide behind the language of neoliberalism because it doesn't convince anyone anymore, and it creates this extraordinary opportunity for agitation and mobilization, and that's why I refuse to despair. History is not over. History can change very quickly. It changes right now because every empire has convinced itself that it's impenetrable, that it'll last forever, until suddenly it doesn't, until it falls. The question isn't whether the brutal imperialist order will break apart. It already is. The question is, do we have the courage? Do we have the imagination and the discipline to build something better before it all drags us down to hell? Australia has the most profound choice in this. Do you want to play a role of reimagining the new world? You can continue to allow this country to be the vassal state. You can continue to allow this country to be the building blocks and a launch pad for US crimes and atrocities. Or you can choose something different, to stand proud as an independent state, a sovereign people, one that forges a peaceful, independent, nuclear-free path that dares to defy barbarism, set an example for the rest of the world to follow, and it will. And you will, because I'm here and I see it, and I believe it, and it starts right here with you, with all of you. No AUKUS, free us all from US imperialism, and free Gaza. Free Palestine.